Morning everybody, it's Chris here from Serene Education with the 4 majors notice update for the 16th of February 2012. Just going to be looking over our 4 majors just using the 4 screens. I've started using these primarily because of all the volatility intraday. I tend to find, I trade these particular time frames myself personally. I find the smaller time frames quite volatile, and I try and stick to the bigger time frames, primarily weekly overall trend, daily, the 4-hour and hourly, to give you my entry levels. Okay, so weekly, you can quite clearly see here building up to be quite a negative week. Loads of resistance at 13,2500. Quite clearly price support. There's now a new resistance. Indecision was at our decision candle. We saw price pulling higher during the first part of the week. However, price rolled over, especially yesterday. If you look at the daily, and you can see quite clearly now we're going into our 5th day now of downside movements. If I can just take the low over here, for example, to the high, you can quite clearly see 38.2 happening to be a very strong support area through the latter part of Jan going into early parts of February. We saw price bouncing higher, and then this morning on the Asian session, well, yesterday's candle closing on that 38.2. However, on the Asian session, price taking right through that and testing the 50-period moving average. I'm just wondering if we're going to see a bit of a bounce now. You know, we could see support on the 50-period moving average being retested again. If price fails to close higher than 38.2 and closes lower, then definitely 50%. Retracement would be our next potential target, followed by the 61.8, as price will be trading below all the small-term moving averages, and all the moving averages in particular will be above price. So if we can see that intraday, there we go on our 4-hour. You can quite clearly see the 38.2 acting as a nice support through 1306, and that failed to yesterday in particular. You can see indecision candle followed by decision, and then price continued to fall lower going into the Asian session this morning. Going to European session, we're seeing prices pulling slightly back, more happening at the upper side. I tend to feel that people have reached their targets now, and are closing some of their shorting contracts. People are purchasing it. I think if we see the 1305 acting now as a resistance level on this pair, then we see a continuation lower. If we see a bounce, because you see the institution moving average is in play as we speak, as the 50-period moving average, the 50% retracement area looms up in front of us. We could see a potential pullback, and then a continuation lower. So 1306 will become our seeding level for those intraday charts. If price breaks higher than that, then all we're going to see on our daily is a nice hammer, which will probably confine that we're going to have some more purchasing long term, as there's talk going around fundamentally that Greek could get its issues sorted out with this bailout funding deal by Monday. A lot of EU members are not happy with Greek's commitment on the next bailout funding, and they want more genuine commitment from the Greek, and they're waiting for further signs of that before they actually go ahead and press on with the bailout. So it's going to be quite interesting the next couple of days. There's also a hell of a lot of news out today, especially in the US. Loads of data in the US today. Manufacturing sales month-to-month, building permits, PPI month-to-month figures, unemployment claims, which is a big one, core PPI month-to-month, house starts, and then we got Mr. Bernanke speaking at 2 p.m. GMT this afternoon. So a lot of news this afternoon, guys. Be aware of it. Factor it in, because of the US data is positive, then we could see euro falling slightly more. If the US dollar, the US figures are negative, then we could see the euro potentially trying to find something to be happy about and to trade. So, but I think primarily it's going to be, most of it's going to be addressing the Greek issue, and I think as long as we're trading on the underside of 38.2, then we should be looking for 1306 as a new ceiling level. If that fails, and we see price trading above it going into the US session, then we could potentially see a pullback continuing for the remainder of the day, back up to 23.6 as a potential target. Failure here, 1306. Bearish engulfing on an hourly candle would definitely confirm that we should be looking down to 50% as our next potential target. Next pair is sterling against US dollar. Let's look at the weekly. Yeah, you can see last week pretty much coming in stuck. Price really putting back, not making any highs. Yes, wick highs, but body highs no. Ceiling level, shooting star formation at 15,8,500. And if you look at the CTC on this time frame, all the moving averages, well, 50 and 100 still above. 20 period was below price. And we have 2 parts, but it's still red, so we should still be looking for negative sentiment. And if you look at the daily, for example, the institution moving average over here was the one that caught my eye. Clearly failed to break through that recently. Here again, buying sentiment into that, and then a clear failure, bearish engulfing. That really put me off. And I noticed, well, if that's the case over here, then we could potentially be seeing further sellers for downside movements. Candle afterwards, very indecisive, and then we had our bearish engulfing here. The decision candle for me, and looking at our 4 hours, that's pretty much breaking through. If you look at fib retracement, so the bottom to the high here, really breaking lower, and I started shorting this at when price fell to materialize above 23.6, and my first target was 38.2. We're there now. Indecision yesterday on the daily. We want to see clear decision again, otherwise you're going to see a bounce here. Okay, so price needs to close below 38.2 at the end of close today to still be considered bearish, and if that's the case, then we should be looking down here at the 50% mark at the 15,600 mark as our next potential targets on this. CTC red as it stands, but this candle hasn't closed yet. Remember, this is a daily chart, so getting the OMF here. If we do get the indecision, got to see a decision candle, we act on decision. Indecision, 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 decision, act. Indecision, decision, act. Okay, as long as it's in the way that you want it to go, you must be decisive on that. And clearly, this is what we're looking for here. Is a decision. Price is low. Asian session, a lot of selling. A slight pullback on the Asian session, not a hell of a lot, but more sentiment to the downside. And as we go into the European Open, we are now trading at above the 38.2 fib retracement level. Got to break below that going into the into the US session. We can find resistance under the 38.2 here. Then we should be looking for potential further downside movement going into the US session this afternoon. If we look at the hourly, very interesting setup. Relative strength over here plotted. Notice there's more happening below the 50, which is good. It's just showing that bearish sentiment. However, you can see quite clearly here, as price has been testing lower highs, the RSI is starting to give us it's starting to show clear convergence. Okay. However, price is still below 50. So as long as you stay below 50, it's below all the moving averages. 200 period moving average above price, still showing us negativity. Then we should just, what we do is we just move our stops up nice and close just to capture any profit that you might be in, and then we wait, put it above the price swing here at 15,700 and look for price to fail at this level and fall lower. The longer it goes sideways, and we can see price moving above 50, and it's broken above the prior support and resistance level here at 15,300. Or if you just look at the prior one here, then we should be looking for potentially a change in market sentiment as more purchasing contracts get triggered, and we should see price bouncing higher. But until such time we see a consolidative range here, and as long as price can remain below those, then we should look for potentially just a pullback to occur before we see further selling occurring for the remainder of this day. So just be aware of that. Yes, hourly showing us a bit of consolidation here. Convergence now in price as we find support at 1566. Need to see a break below that. 1566 mark is the 38.2 fib, so it's quite a strong support. Need to see a break of that. So if you're looking for potential trade on sterling, wait for a nice bearish engulfing below this area here to confirm that we should be looking for selling contract, and then we should be looking at our 4 hour, looking at least the institution moving average here at 1560-100 or 155800 as our next target. If we get a nice bearish engulfing below that, so close a nice 4 hour candle lower than that, would definitely close here. 4 hour traded lower, we're closed higher, hammer, and we potentially trade to the upside because of that. Next up, US dollar Swiss franc. Let's have a look on the weekly. yeah, support definitely being forged over here. Price not wanting to budge below that 9100 mark, which happens to be the 20 period moving average on the weekly. Let's have a look at the daily. You can quite clearly see that 9100 coming in there. Quite lots of support through there. 2 weeks worth of at least support being forged at that area. And if I can just take those lows to the highs, price not too far off from those levels. Okay, 9100 here, 23.6, just above it. Price not wanting to go any lower than that. 86, 38.2 happened to be the fib extension for further drop. This is where it brings in with the pegging, currency peg. 86 above. The Swiss government wants the price to be trading above, which is the Euro Swiss franc 120 mark. And you can see price pretty much bouncing on that, pulling away higher highs. Most importantly, price now breaking that prior resistance level here at roughly, let's have a look here, at the 92.30 mark. And this morning on Asian session, very much moving away from going into European session, apologies, moving up towards a 50 period moving average, which happens to be price support and resistance at roughly the 93.2 mark. So not too far away. I take these highs to the low here, pull back, and see 38.2 fib extension in play as we speak. So from the high to the low, you can see quite clearly support here and bouncing higher. Price broke above the 23.6 and moving up towards the 38.2. Got to get above the 38.2 to see any further extensions higher, which will bring us back to the 33.50 mark, which happens to be the 50 period moving average at the 50% mark. Okay, so as it stands now, candle in play is blue, however hasn't closed yet. Got to get a close blue, and then everything will be in our favor for potentially a bounce higher. Just be aware that 38.2 is a very strong support and resistance level previously, and got to get above that in order to see any further progression higher. But I think as things stand now, the more important one is going to be the 50% mark, as 93.50 happens to be a long-term support and resistance level through these areas here. So as it stands now, got to see if price can trade above 38.2 fib retracement on US session, get above that 930 mark, and find support on an hourly, for example, going to the US session. Then we should be looking for potential bouncing higher. So if we look at our smaller time frames, take those highs to the down, mimic them there on our 4 hour, for example. There we go. Quite clearly see the 38.2 we saw prior consolidation of that area. Price failed to break higher than that, and as it stands at the moment now, price is trading into that. We've seen a slight pullback, but notice we have a nice bounce higher. 4 hour chart looking favorable for longs to the upside, but we need to get above that 38.2, otherwise we run the risk of potentially trading into resistance with potentially a pullback to occur. So let's have a look and see what's happening now. 92, what's that? 92.8. If we look on our hourly, we look at 92.8, which is right here, as price is trading on an hourly. But you notice that we're spending more time above the 50 period moving average. We don't see any clear where we've seen price and RSI moving away from each other. This is clearly showing us that price is moving in the direction of the trend, which is great. And as long as it's trending by 50, then we're looking at for positive trend. Okay, so everything's looking good for further upside movements. Excuse me. Just be aware we are trading at the 38.2 fib mark as we speak. That's on our 4 hour. You can quite clearly see there 38.2 and price is putting back. Got to see a nice bullish engulfing on an hourly, confirming that price is looking for higher highs. Look for a pullback, nice support above that, and then a further extension to the upside in the US session. Failure to do that, and we see resistance going through the latter part of today. We just clearly think that we're going to see a resistance level, and we should be looking potentially back towards 23.6 as a potential target intraday for the remainder of the week. However, that remains to be seen. Last pair of the day is US dollar Japanese yen. Look at that, two very engulfing candles, a lot of momentum on this pair, really firing higher than 7800 as prior resistance levels on the weekly, hitting into trading right into the institution moving the 50 period moving average on the weekly. CTC remains negative across the board on the weekly. That's purely because 50% moving average here clearly acting as resistance level on this time frame, and the institution moving average well above price. Excuse me. Okay, so looking at the daily, you can quite clearly see that momentum. Non-farm payroll figures came out beautiful, nice and sweet, beautiful incentive that, and we saw indecision going into that news announcement. Then the decision, massive favor for non-farm payroll figures the beginning of this month, and sure enough, we've seen price really rallying to the upside. If we look at projection figures from the low to the high, this little pullback here, moving it back. Ideally, 100%, 79.30 would be our next potential target, as price is now trading above 61.8. Get above that, price can close above this area, then we should be looking at 100% as our next potential target, as price really moves to the upside on this pair. You can see here quite clearly noticeable resistance here at 38.2. Price really breaking above that institution moving average on our daily, and that's going to reflect on all our smaller time frames as price really moves higher. So this is our low to the pullback here, and there we go, 61.8. Bit of resistance yesterday sorry, over the past couple of days through part of 15, then hammers at 50% of the retracement, a lot more momentum to the upside, shallow pullback and extension higher. So that shallow pullback, if you even go for the, it should probably be even 20.6. There we go, 23.6, not even closing lower than that. Surely a nice strong support to fib projection levels are in play. Yes, price trade lower than that, but still closed higher on the 4 hour, and that's where we want to do, buying into this momentum to the upside. If it can remain this way, then we should be looking for further extensions to the upside. So 78.3 would be our strong support, intraday support. There we go. As price can remain above that area here, then we should look for prices to build up on that. Noticeably, as you can see, as price has been heading higher, watch, just be careful, because price has been trading higher and we're getting this occurring. Okay, we're starting to see price RSI dipping as price is getting higher. That's just going to confirm that we're starting to see a bit of consolidation now as price has been hitting higher. Here again, same thing, as high as RSI, close to well over bought, and we're heading lower. So be careful of that. It's just turning heads up. We could see potential pullback, and that pullback could quite clearly be here on the weekly as we trade into the institution moving average, the 50 period moving average here at the 78. What area is this? This is 78, 74 mark. So be aware of it. 78, 74. So that's right there. So you can quite clearly see we're trading into that high now. This is the weekly high, where the 50 period moving average is in play. We could see potentially a pullback occurring because of that. Ideally, if you can still stay above here at 78.50, which happened to be the prior resistance level, then we could see price just pulling back, finding more momentum, building up more momentum, and trading higher into the new week. Okay, so CTC on our 4 hour still remains blue across the board. We're still having higher swings, depicting upside movement. We've seen a lot of movement to the upside. Okay, there's a lot of bullish movement this. Just be careful, be aware that we could see a potential pullback. But as long as it trades above 61.8 there and finds happy at this area and finds support, then we should be seeing price building on those particular figures. RSI is still above 50, which is all important. As long as it's trading above 50, it's still positive. However, RSI is pulling back. You can quite clearly see here as we went higher, made reattempted prior highs, higher, trying those prior highs. RSI was dipping. Okay, and as long as it remained above 50, then that buying power should still remain in positive. And sure enough, it's the same. So we're going to use the 78.30 as our target. Excuse me, as a potential area to see price trading above. It can remain above here, and price finding support above here, and then we should see momentum still favoring the upside. That's it, guys. I hope you have a fantastic trading day today. Stick to the rules. Stick to these time frames. I find them far more beneficial, especially with all this volatility in the market, especially with Eurozone, etc. like that. I find this is far more beneficial to everybody out there, and I hope it works for you. Until then, trade serenely.